It is my pleasure today to introduce our speakers, Josh Cruz and Maggie Biggs, workplace consultants for ORI Inc., and Tony Mancini, business development manager with Steelcase. Since 1945, Office Resources has been providing innovative services and creative work environments in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Today, they operate in each Kentucky county and look to expand and service additional markets based on the needs of their clients. In 3 of the past 4 years, they were named a Steelcase Platinum Partner, an honor awarded to select few dealers in the United States for exceptional service, co-branding, reinvestment, and support of Steelcase performance targets. In addition, they have been named a Fast 50 company, an annual award to Louisville's fastest growing private companies, a Best Employer by Goodwill Industries, and a Partners in Philanthropy Award by Business First for their community outreach. With that, we appreciate you partnering with us on this, and I will hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, like Dawn mentioned, my name is Josh Cruz. I've got Maggie Biggs here with me as well. We're both workplace consultants for ORI. We do live and work here in Bowling Green, and we do, and Tony, if you don't mind to hit the next slide. So we are a commercial office furniture dealer at our core, but really what we're trying to do is impact lives through space. So whether that be the commercial space or the education space where we're trying to foster more collaboration or productivity, or whether that be in a healthcare setting where we're trying to facilitate healing, because we know that's a vulnerable time for everyone involved. So we do think that space can impact lives, and we do that on a daily basis. Every project that we complete, we do have our core values in mind: servant attitude, continuous improvement, relationships, excellence, and honesty. So we strive to work by those core values every single day. And our purpose really and truly is to enhance human performance and improve lives. And we do really feel like space does that. We do have 4 locations. We do have a brand new showroom in Louisville and Nashville that we would love to host any and everyone at. We can do that safely. We can even do that virtually as needed as well. We do have a brand new showroom in Lexington that just opened that has some healthcare furniture. And then here in Bowling Green, we do not have a showroom, but we do have a warehouse and an office. So we are locally, we are here local. We do have a warehouse team local as well. And with Tony's help, with Steelcase's help, he's in the market once a week if needed, every Tuesday. So we'd be happy to come by and see you when the time is right. So I'll toss it over to Maggie. Tony, you can hit to the next slide, and she'll tell you a little bit more about the services that we offer.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Maggie here in Bowling Green. ORI is we call ourselves a full service dealership. Not only can we supply and give you all furniture, we have so much more than that. We are staffed with in-house designers, in-house installation teams, and in-house project management. So we can really help facilitate what you need, how you need it, when you need it, from the beginning of the project all the way into completion, and then follow up as needed. So we have, like I said, several in-house designers that have degreed interior design degrees and work in something called several different programs. And we can do something called live design, where we can actually take your screen, take your room, and design as needed with Steelcase and over 120 different manufacturers we include in our offerings. So another big thing is we do offer installation. Several companies around here that might be able to provide the furniture will kind of hand it to you, and that's it. We can also pick up the torch from there and install it and punch out anything you've got going on. So if you have any projects, big or small, ORI can fit them all. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but here we are.
Yeah, and if you guys got any questions, we'll monitor the chat. Tony is in with Steelcase, so he'll do the bulk of the presentation. He's the expert in kind of where we're headed in regards to workplace design and how we're managing working from home, and some research and insight that Steelcase has done in that matter. But yeah, we do have three people here in Bowling Green and workplace that are our workplace consultants. So we do cover Bowling Green, surrounding West, and like I said, we do have Lexington and Louisville and then Nashville as well. So there's really not a project that is too far away for us, and we can even access any number of steel case dealers to provide any installations in the United States as well. So with that, we'll turn it over to Tony Mancini, who's the business development manager with Steelcase, and he'll kind of guide us to where we're going in regards to social distancing and working from home.
Thanks, Josh, Maggie. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for joining and listening to me today and inviting us. So I'll give ORI another plug. So I know it's kind of weird to see and wonder how the relationship works between Steelcase and ORI. And Maggie mentioned that ORI has over, I believe, over 200, with Steelcase and our partners, over 200 manufacturers that they represent. So they can make it very easy for any organization to purchase furniture and manage their furniture, project manage, et cetera, because they are the one person to contact for the entire project. And then they manage that relationship with the manufacturers. And Steelcase, as I mentioned, even though it's just one part, but it is a large part of ORI's operation, we work very closely with them. And Steelcase is over 112 years old. And we do have, as of today, about 54 plus partners that we deliver to ORI in one single truck. So it makes everything very simple. We also offer services. We have a captive financing arm. So we're the only manufacturer that will let you finance the project for up to 0% for up to 3 years, which no one else can do. So if there's a project that you're putting off for financing or budgeting reasons, we can spread that payment out over 3 years without financing or without an interest rate. So make it very attractive. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about the how organizations can compete in this post-COVID era. I like to say it's not necessarily post-COVID because we don't think that COVID is necessarily going away like we would all hope. It's going to be a part of our lives and we're going to learn from it moving forward. So, but after what's going on now, it's what we learn and how we innovate and how we keep our businesses competitive and relevant moving forward. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. We have a small group. If Josh is going to monitor the chat, but if you want to open your mic and have ask a question, we can take this conversation into any direction that you want to go. We want to make sure that you all learn something today, but more importantly, think about. We hope that this is thought-provoking and teaches you ways that to be more competitive moving forward and be safe. So as we mentioned, that organizations right now, we're faced with a lot of volatility. Some of the terms that are overused is unprecedented, but we truly are in times that none of us have ever seen in our lifetime. And organizations are forced to pivot quickly. And everyone wants to know, how will work change? And even, Dawn asked me earlier, how's it going to change? And the answer is no one really knows. It's changing so quickly. We're seeing that organizations that had a plan 2 weeks ago have already changed multiple times, and we're seeing multiple iterations of a plan. So the big question is evolved around safety for the employees. What's best? Should we work from home? Should we bring them back? And we'll talk a little bit about what we've learned from talking with over 300 of our customers around the globe and what we feel is the best practice. We do know that returning to the status quo, in other words, just saying, okay, everybody come back to the office, nothing's changed. We know that that's very dangerous for organizations. Number one, your employees aren't going to feel safe. You're not going to get the best out of your employees. But more importantly, you may potentially put them at risk for health reasons. So we think that that's very dangerous. But then, we also think that extreme work from home is dangerous too, and we'll talk about that as well. So again, the senior leaders, they're making decisions on a daily basis, and it's changing on what's best to do. But we talked to over 300 organizations, and some of the research that we're finding is that people want to return back to the office. As a matter of fact, Ginsberg and Cushman & Wakefield, as high as 90% of employees, they want to come back to the office for many reasons. Everyone's situation is a little different at home. My situation changed yesterday because my kids went back to school. So it was, even though they didn't physically go back to school, now they're at home and they're online classes. And that's even different than when this first started, because the schools have had several months to figure out, okay, how do we best teach kids in a virtual environment? And that's changed a little bit. So, you know, it's just ever evolving and ever changing. But we don't hear about people wanting to come back from the office. We hear about how great working from home is. And we think that that's a little skewed. We think organizations and the news, it's almost like it's newsworthy as opposed to reality, because we're hearing a different story when we talk to our customers. And each of you may have your own stories, but we're going to dive in a little more deeply on some of the misnomers and misconceptions about how effective working from home is for employees. And one of the first ones is that it costs less. So we know that the reality is that as far as the real estate, you are saving. You could potentially save by compressing your real estate. It will save you money, but so there are some hidden costs involved in that. And a lot of it is around the spaces that they have to work from home. You know, I'm 49 years old. My kids are a little older. I have them half the time, but some people, and I have a large enough home that I can have a dedicated office, but some people don't have that. Some people are, you know, husband and wife with a small child in an efficiency apartment in Chicago, and their story is a little bit different than what my story would be. And each person is different. But we know that 20% of the people who never work from home are more likely to stay at a company, because if they're getting a lot more involved in the culture, they're making relationships with their fellow employees, they're developing more trust, and they have what we call an ecosystem of place where they can work. And the 5% of those who work remotely, or most of the time, are likely to stay. So we know that too much remote work does help at social capital. So if you think of, you know, when this first started and you're having Teams calls or Zoom calls with coworkers, those are folks that you already knew and you already trust. You know, you have to, it takes time to develop trust, and we know that working with someone who you trust, you're more productive. But just think over time, if you're never going to the office, never physically meet those people, your creativity, your productiveness with that person will go down, and your morale will go down, just simply because you haven't developed that trust over time. Productivity we are seeing is going down, and then, as we mentioned before, the employee turnover as well. I kind of liken it to you're going off the basic training when you join the military. You spend those several weeks with the same group of people. When you're done, you've built long-lasting relationships, and you've seen what those people are capable of doing, and in some cases protecting your life, and you trust them more. The same thing is true in the office. We also know that the home office, there's increased risk to the employee safety. We're already hearing about cases of workers' compensation because of non-ergonomically, chairs that aren't ergonomically healthy for the individual. Some people are working with a laptop propped up on a table, in their kitchen table, and they're working on a chair that's not ergonomically sound, has no adjustments. Some people are even working in bed. We've seen pictures of some pretty horrific working conditions from home that isn't monitored by organizations like OSHA, et cetera. Poor lighting is bad for the eyes. Again, we talked about that, the ergonomics. And then the furniture at home isn't made to be used in an office environment. And some even office furniture that they would get from, some of the big box stores aren't necessarily designed for 8 hours of sitting. And we know that moving around is very important too. So people are just as more productive, and that depends on how you define productivity. We know that if it's just task-related work, like reading emails or checking the box, yeah, you're going to be more productive. But when it comes to actual collaboration and idea creation, that is lacking in a virtual environment. just creating ideas. It's so complex that it involves a team, and that creativity is not going to happen over Zoom. We know that work is social, and then some of the implications for lacking that social environment is missed when you don't have a physical space to actually conduct it. And then we know that proximity and social accountability, it boosts that productivity by 2 times. Run a little bit faster because I know that we're, and remind me, we'll share this presentation with folks and we'll give you our email addresses at the end. As I mentioned, people are different. I'm a Gen Xer, so you can see that the baby boomers actually feel that they're productive when working from home. That actually surprised me. I thought it would be kind of a flip. But the Gen Z and the millennials, the people that you're probably recruiting to work the next generation in your office, they don't like working from home as much as the baby boomers. People who work from home have a better work-life balance. And the reality is that that there are benefits from working from home, but there are also risks as well. Personally for me, like my personal, I enjoyed the commute to work. It allowed me to kind of gear up and pump myself up for work. It also, the ride home before I got home to my family, kind of helped me decompress. So sometimes that commute actually helps you work better. And it also separates work from home. Right now, I work in my office solely because I want to have a home work balance. And if I could work anywhere in my home, then I feel like I could be working at any time. And I just want to say, if I'm in my living room with the kids, I don't want to feel like I need to be working. So, and then people feel slightly disoriented and lose track of actually, they don't even know what day it is sometimes if they don't have a routine of getting out of the office. It's like, okay, well, mentally, all right, this is the 3rd day that I got in my car and drove to the office. You actually kind of lose track of time. It's almost like being on a deserted island, and you almost have to check off what day it is. We also know that people are working from home. My commute now is 13 feet. So, and I have a routine. I get up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and, fix myself a cup of coffee, walk right into the office and start working. And then, I'm just naturally at work until 5 o'clock. So I'm actually working longer than I would. So if I'm not intentional and take those breaks throughout the day, then I'm going to burn out pretty quickly. We've also hit this, the digital wall, so I think that we're all sick of Zoom calls. We're all kind of sick of virtually meeting our coworkers. We just want to get back into the office. The engagement is very less. And you actually get burned. It's harder to pay attention on a Zoom call or a virtual call as it is in person because you feel like you have to stare at the person that's presenting to let them know that you're paying attention. Whereas if you were in person, you wouldn't be 3 feet away from them staring them in the face. So we know that actually burns them out. But one of the big things that we're missing by having the Zoom calls are the pre and post call or pre and post meeting discussions that a lot of great ideas come out of those meetings. Like Josh and myself, we could be getting ready to go into a meeting, or Maggie, and say, hey, what do you think this meeting's about? I've thought about it. Here's some ideas that I have, and let's talk about it after the meeting. Or something occurs in the meeting, and then when you walk out of the conference room, you grab a spot really close and then kind of debrief and have some ideas. So we're missing a lot of those kind of spontaneous collaboration sessions that happen pre and post meeting. We talked about the Zoom fatigue, and then obviously the sedentary work. It takes a toll. Not everyone has height adjustable desks at home. Very few do. So there are a lot of, again, poor ergonomic support is creating more stress, and it's not healthy for us. So people are actually gaining weight during COVID. They work a little harder. So at first, everyone seemed to really enjoy it, but the enthusiasm for working from home has dropped. And I think a lot of people are just sick of it. So what do we do? And how do we rethink the workplace? So the workplace, it needs to be, number one, it needs to be safe. We should switch safe to be number one, and then compelling, but it also needs to be compelling, and then create those ecosystems of space that we discussed. But we have 5 main ways that you can create a compelling and safe workplace, and they consist of expanding the ecosystem, as we talked about. Just think of giving your employees more choice to figure out where they do their best work for the work at hand. No one space is created to let you do every single thing that you need to do. If you need to just have some focus time where you're not disturbed, then yeah, working from home is great. In the office, you need to have some enclaves for those folks to step away and take a private phone call or decompress a little bit after a meeting or before another meeting. But they need to feel like they have an array of choices to do their best work. And then shifting from fixed, and actually we'll dive in a little bit more here on the ecosystem of space. So home, and then one thing that we haven't even talked about are satellite offices. So for larger organizations that are maybe more spread out across the United States, just having smaller, instead of one main office, having satellite offices to where folks can have multiple choices. Well, I can go into the headquarters, I can go in this little satellite office that's in the suburbs closer to my house, or I can go into my home, or a multiple satellite offices. So that's, again, it's the ultimate form of choice and control. And then shifting from fixed to fluid, if I can get my screen to pop back. So you want to, instead of just sitting at your desk and working in an environment that you can't change, you have products like these here that each group can actually move and change however they want to work. That's going to create the best ecosystem for that group or that individual. And then organizations can easily adapt, and then the individual group can adapt as well. Whether it's a team of 10 people or a team of just 2 people collaborating, they can change the space as they need, almost like Legos. They can just sit there and they say, all right, well, this is the work that we're doing right now. We can move this screen if we want more privacy from the adjacent group. If we need to write down our thoughts on these boards, we have those options. And then, as we mentioned a little bit before, is focusing on the me within the we. Like I say, there is an I in team, and that's the individual that's in the team. You need to have spaces for that person to step away from the team to either do some work for the team or for themselves. But that individual, you need to think of that person and their needs, not just the team, and they're going to be more of an asset to the team. So it's that balance between the individual and the team becomes a better, it becomes better for the team as a whole. And then making every space a collaborative space. Sorry, I'm having a little technical issues, but when you make every space a collaborative space, then, sorry. I was saying earlier that everyone's getting to be a pro at technology, but it always seems to let me down at the worst moment. But when you make every space a collaborative space, then you're giving all employees more of an opportunity to connect with those that are working from home. So, for example, if you have technology and power in all of the spaces throughout your office, then they can bring that individual that maybe doesn't feel safe or is in a different situation at home than another, and they have to work remotely. You want to bring that person in and make them feel like they're engaged in the group. So you're not limiting the places where the folks that are in the office can collaborate with those that are at home. And whether that's whiteboards, power, bringing power in, and power doesn't have to be, you don't have to core drill anymore. We have products that very easily you can run power to the middle of the room. They're ADA compliant, just lay the carpet tile over top of them. And now you can bring power into the middle of the room where once it wasn't. And you have technology there that can support that person working from home. And then that brings us to merging the digital, with room reservations, we also have technology, that you can walk in a room and instead of touching a button to reserve that room, you have an app on your phone where you can reserve the room. You're not touching a screen that may or may not have been cleaned since the last person touched it. And also rooms where you can walk in and it automatically it reserves that room just by a sensor that knows that someone walked into that room. And then it opens the room back up to be reserved if someone walks out. So we have that ability to do those things. As well as just look on your phone and say what rooms are available for my meeting. I need 10 people. I need this technology, and then I need these other amenities, and then you can reserve it right on your phone and then invite folks to that meeting. And then we also have ways to, you want to know what spaces are working for you, and because everything is changing so quickly, what spaces are being utilized and why. You can actually look at, well, this space's utilization is really low compared to this space. Why is that? In some cases, we found out that it's just simply the technology that's in the room. And if you incorporate the technology in the room that was underutilized before, the same as the room that's being utilized, then that utilization goes up. So at the end of the day, we feel that all room, that the highly adaptable and resilient space, a space that can be easily changed as conditions change, as other scenarios may change, whether it's social unrest, whether it's another, God forbid, pandemic. But if your spaces are resilient for your people and can adapt and change very quickly, then that's the office of the future. And there's a few things that we look at when we talk about the time horizon of now, near, and far. So now it's like, how do I get my people back as quickly as possible? And some of the things that you want to consider is the density. If you look at the floor plate on the left, that's before. And you'll notice that there's not the social distancing that's required for safety. By simply changing the geometry or changing the density of that space, you can achieve social distancing very easily. And it's utilizing the same furniture that you currently have, just by rearranging the furniture and then spreading your folks out. You can also you can become more safe just by changing the geometry, and that's how the furniture is arranged. Are you facing another person, or are you, if you can slightly adapt and just change the furniture by 90 degrees, then now that those two people aren't, those two seats aren't facing each other, creating a potential health problem. And then lastly, division. We think that screens and space division is very important. And we've actually, we've moved very quickly to create new products as far as screens, and I'll show you some examples. But just by adding screens into a space, you can also, that are bleach cleanable, you can actually improve the safety of the space. And we feel that the space needs to be very intentional. You could have a lot of protocols that make the space safe, but if it's not visually intentional, meaning that if someone walks in, they don't know that it's being cleaned. But something as simple as just having a schedule when this room was last cleaned makes your employees feel safe. We have some thought starters. So here's the current height adjustable desk. And then everything seen here just by easily changing, you can retrofit that space by adding higher screens. Those screens in particular are from a partner of ours, AMQ. It's a company that we had purchased. But just adding those screens, a little division on the side with that loft wall. And then the screen on the right is actually 3 pieces that attach with magnets that you can move around and redeploy in different spaces. So we changed that space to make it safer and more functional for your employees. And then down the road, you could reconfigure with a smaller investment, and then it could be adding more screens in the middle, changing the geometry where they're facing away, and then adding lockers as space division as well. And again, everything here can be reconfigured as well and redeployed into other spaces. Here's a panel-based system currently. Just a quick, easy retrofit, again, by adding the frameless glass on top of the answer panels. And then other divisions by 28-inch high AMQ screen on top of a height adjustable desk. And it can be easily reconfigured. And then a total reconfigure is just adding that glass stacker. And the great thing about our our answer product is just the way that it's designed. It can be easily reconfigured. And the way ORI designs it, they have every kit of parts in their CET system. So if you say we want to raise our panels, they can very easily say, well, this is what you have. All it's going to take is just a small investment on a couple parts, and we could take this screen from 48 or from 24 inches to 48 inches high just by a few slight reconfigurations. Here's an open and active collaboration. So if you notice, we call this flex. These are tables and height adjustable desks that are on casters. It's actually the only height adjustable desk that is on a caster that can be moved safely because of the way that the casters are designed. But we have space division on the right. If you look over here, we have these screens. And all of these scenarios, we can show you in one of the ORI showrooms, as Josh mentioned, that just a quick trip down to Nashville or Lexington or even Louisville, we have these settings that we can show you. Here's a collaborative space that can be adapted for the user. We have technology here in the back, and as well as whiteboards to show your work. There's some lounge and touchdown spaces. Here's the vision screens again that are connected with magnets. And then here are the enclaves that I spoke of. You have a team. It's a quick touchdown here, but then you have individual spaces here with privacy, visually, acoustically, and then you just feel safer when you're in one of these little small enclaves. This is one of my personal favorites. It's the Brody Lounge. This is actually an education product that has applications for businesses. It's like it's like a small capsule where you can actually do your work. It's a pod for one person. We have a desk version here in the middle, and then the lounge version. You can safely store your backpack or your briefcase. You have technology. You can hold your technology at eye level to where you're not straining your neck, and you could potentially work here for a good portion of the day with visual privacy and acoustical privacy as well. And very, very popular is a pod that you can simply drop in the middle of a work plan. This pod doesn't require HVAC hookups or fire suppression. You notice the louvers on the top, they're designed. They open when someone enters the room, or excuse me, they close when someone enters the room. When they leave, they open. And if this pod lost power, those would open and it would utilize the fire suppression HVAC from outside the actual unit. We have multiple versions of this pod, multiple sizes that can seat up to 8 people, 4 with social distancing. And then this is again a common area that shows all of density, the geometry, and the division. Folks aren't facing each other. You also you can spread out these tables and then remove seats. But then you have your collaboration and then if you notice right here, this is what we call, it's basically a tower. When I talked about those tracks in between, you can actually hook this up to a small track that runs, it's 5/16 of an inch, that runs underneath the carpet tiles, ADA compliant. You can bring power anywhere into the middle of the room with this product. And then the same thing with outdoor. A lot of universities are actually even moving their classes outdoors. Just for safety reasons. we can provide there's a lot of furniture that we can provide it for outdoor use that can take the office and make the outdoor space a collaborative space. Again, you have the division, you have collaborative tools, and you're making considerations with density and geometry here as well. Right, so I know I went super fast there towards the end. I wanted to make sure that we're respectful of time. Do we have any questions? Josh, Maggie, is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think, you know, it was a great presentation. I think the whole kind of gist of this is that there's not tons that a lot of companies really need to do to make their offices socially distant. It's just a matter of knowing the research, knowing what's best for your company, and adding a few small tweaks here and there, and really bringing your people back to work, which is ultimately what they really want, which a lot of people were pretty surprised to hear about, but all the facts are there, that people are ready to come back to work and get back into their routine. And this is a great way to make that happen.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Thank you for sharing especially the data. I thought that was really interesting, the percentages of so I am at the bottom end of the baby boomers, but I like working remotely, but I couldn't do it 24/7.
Right.
And but it's interesting, as you said, the younger folks don't want to work virtually or remotely so much. They want that interaction. I thought that was very interesting. So
yeah, I was interested in that as well, because, you know, my kids, they don't seem like they want to hang out with their friends like I wanted to with my friends, because I feel like they feel that they have their friends in their pocket and they can talk to them at any time. But when they go to work, I guess when you have to think the universities, if you go to the WKU, look at how Western is set up. That's how they're used to working. And that's what their expectation is when they go into the workplace, is they're conditioned to work in a cool space like WKU.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's good to think about, especially as you're hiring, the hiring pool right now with the Gen X, Gen Zs, Linksters, whatever everybody's calling them. But the folks that are graduating from college, even high school and tech schools right now, we really need to be thinking about how we incorporate all of that into our work culture.
Yeah, so I think the younger generation, they get a bad rap sometimes, but our research shows that they want to be valued and add value more than it's more important than ever before, and pay is less important to them than it was to our generation, or even the millennials. So they'll give up some pay, feel valued, and then have a cool place to work.
Yep, Tony, I agree. We're both 29 now, but we're in that same boat too. And we're in a unique situation being in Bowling Green. Bowling Green's a great city. I lived in Louisville, moved back here from Glasgow, and love Bowling Green. But we're in a pretty unique spot where there's a big city, less than an hour away south, and then there's bigger cities up north that aren't too far away. So we've really got to work on, as a Bowling Green community, keeping a lot of those Western grads here, and that's space can definitely help you attract and retain some of that talent here in Bowling Green.
Yeah. I think
one of
the easiest ways to incorporate social distancing into the workplace, and one of the biggest things we've seen, especially if your office has already shifted to an open office environment, glass stackers. Glass keeps the germs out, but doesn't keep the sunlight out, and doesn't keep you from being able to see each other. So if you've already moved kind of towards an open workspace, some clear dividers, some glass stackers onto your workspaces can be a great and easy and very cost-effective way to add some social distance into your workplace. And again, ultimately what you want is to bring those people back into the office. So that's what we can do.
Yep, and there's universal stackers too, so they don't have to be necessarily steel case panels.
Right.
We have universal mounting hardware that will go on any existing panel. So that is probably the easiest way. That and mobile screens as well. It could be a mobile whiteboard. That way, when hopefully we're past COVID and you don't need that separation, you can actually use that mobile screen as a whiteboard moving forward. So there's plenty of ways to make that happen on a budget.
Yeah, we even have paper dividers, so we could actually even have screens that are made of cardboard that are essentially if you don't want to make a permanent change, but you want to add something as a temporary solution, very cost effective and can be recycled when you're done.
Absolutely. And if your office hasn't really moved into that open work environment yet, but you're wanting to, or you're wanting to go ahead and incorporate some things that can help in social distance while you're still trying to get people back into work, kind of like what the schools have done, the A through K, K through Z transition. If you all are doing something like that, or you only have partial teams back in the office, we can help facilitate how to change your office while you're still working on that maybe 50-50 schedule, and then or different maybe unique ways that you haven't thought about. We've worked with a lot of different companies all over Kentucky, so we've seen a lot of great ideas and insights. We can help you guys figure out how to bring that back, and then become more socially distant and bring hopefully everyone back.
Yeah, and Maggie, that's a great point. It made me think too as well. So a lot of the other services that we could, and like we ORI and Steelcase, we have a host of surveys that we could help you with, because we know that employees want to be heard. They don't necessarily have to get a say, but if they have a voice, then they are more likely to adapt and embrace any type of change. So if you are making changes, we know that it's better to talk to your employees sooner rather than later. And if you want some guidance on some of the questions or some of the surveys that you can deploy, we'd be glad to assist. I put all of our email addresses here, and I just noticed that mine looks a little weird. That's rmancini@steelcase.com. But don't hesitate if you would like for me to share this presentation, or if you have any questions, or you would like to hear more about any of our other research. But also invite you to go to steelcase.com. We publish all of our research for general consumption. We share it with the world essentially because we know it doesn't exist in a vacuum, and we feel confident that, or at least we want to make the workplace better for all employees, not just our customers.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? No. Well, this has been recorded, so this will be available on the partner portal page where all of the other business edit specs are recorded and stored, so you can view it again and again. Also, Tony will make sure that we have this presentation available for folks if they want it. So thank you very much, Maggie, Josh, and Tony, for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Lots of great information, and this is just a tidbit of things to think about as we move forward through the new change and the way that we view the world and are going to be living in our new world again. So
Absolutely.
Next month is our next Business at its Best seminar is on September 24th, and the topic is media and marketing, getting your message out there. So that will be a really good one to tune into as well as this one. And so thank you again, all of you, for your presentation, and for those that you participated. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks.